When we lead with love, we carry it 24/7. And when we teach with love, we make sure our students don't forget it. To be black and to educate, to be superhero without the applause. It's to show up and show out no matter the cause. It's to play for the students no matter the winner. Because when we work arm in arm, the impact is bigger. Welcome to Untenured Podcast, where educators have a space to speak their truth. So tap in and listen to the very voices that mold our youth.
So welcome YouTube community to episode 3. We are here and we are undeterred, and we are so hyped to have a beautiful, dope educator, male soul here in the building, Brother Sundjata Sekou. Not only is he a dope 3rd grade teacher out of Irvington, New Jersey, he's an educational freedom fighter. He is the New Jersey Education Association Urban Activist Award recipient for 2024. You can follow him on IG at Black Male Teacher. We know him as Brother Sekou. Some people know him as Mr. I-95, but whatever you call him, just know what he's about. He's a real one whose work is about fighting against white supremacy and racism in education and union spaces. He is 10 toes down in centering Black students, staff, and parents and guardians in all relation to education. We are so thrilled to have him here to speak his truth, because here in our house, speaking your truth can never go left because it's your right. So Brother Sundjata, welcome.
Wow, thank you, my great sister, for having me. Thank you
for responding to a DM.
You know, the real ones connect.
Hello, Ohio. You better tell it. All right, so let's kick off. Let's dive right in. Tell us why you use the name Undeterred.
There's a lot of haters in the education and union spaces, and I don't care what they say. I don't care what they like. I'm going to stand up for Black children. I'm going to stand up for brown children. I'm going to stand up for Black and brown staff. I'm just going to be me, and I'm going to do what I love, and I'm not stopping, and I'm undeterred. So haters, you can hit the road.
Here it is. And listen, you have autonomy, viewers. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. But if you're about it and you want to grow your self-awareness, your consciousness, this will be a conversation for you. And so I don't want to spend time talking too much about why this connection is so dope for me. But I'm sure there'll be some viewers who are asking, really, it's Women's Month. Why do you have a brother on here during Women's Month? And I want to tell you something, because when I went and I was scrolling through this brother's IG, more than what he shows on his social media platform, from the few conversations and connections we've had, I want you to know that he is a huge proponent of Black women. And one of the things he says is, I don't want to talk about me. I want to talk about what got me here and who got me here. And I love my brothers, but it's Black women. And so could you speak a little, maybe shout out a few Black women that mean a lot to where you are now, where you hope to be, who have poured into you?
Oh my God, I got to start with my old earth. But before my old earth, which is my mother, is my grandmother. Because, you know, when we talk about where we come from, a lot of time we don't talk about our community. A lot of time we talk about Eurocentric views of individualism. I'm no individual. I come from a community that supported me, that loved me, that poured into me. And these were Black women who were there for me. The reason why people even know me in these union spaces is because Black women who were more certified, more accomplished, push me forward, drag me and say, Sundjata, you got to be in this space. You have to speak your truth. You have to represent. So I always have to represent for the sisters. So whenever you guys see me anywhere, or I'm speaking, or I'm presenting, is because of Black women have gotten me to this point. So I always have to shout out the sisters.
Listen, shout out to Caribbean ancestry, because I can hear it. I can hear it. And so we have huge reverence for elders here, especially grandmothers. The space is my maternal grandmother. And so I know you wanted to start with her and your old earth. Tell us a little bit about your mother.
Yeah, so my mother is the typical Jamaican woman who don't take no stuff.
No mess.
You know what James Brown say? Papa don't take no mess.
Papa don't take no mess. Mama don't take no mess.
My mother is just a strong woman. I love my father. I love my dad. So it's not a situation where I have issues with my dad. My dad has since joined the Ancestors. But my mother is the one who was the driving force in my life. You know, a lot of times people see the writing, read the writing that I do, or hear me speak, and the intellect and things like that. But that's my father's side. My pull-up side is my mother. my side that I don't care is just going to be the way it's going to be. It's going to fall wherever it's going to fall. That's my mother. Later on, I'll tell you the story how my mother fought Bob Marley. Yes, that Bob Marley. My mother fought him in trench tone in the States.
Well, listen, we're going to make the viewers stay with us for that story. So we're going to save that for the end. And although it'll be the end of this conversation, it'll really be the beginning of our growing relationship in this dope educatorhood. And I'm going to say one Black woman's name, and I want you to tell me why she's so important. You ready? Nellie K. Parker. Go.
Oh, my God. Nellie K. Parker was a sister in Hackensack, New Jersey, who wanted to teach and not teach Black children. She wanted to teach white children because she was so skilled. And because the great Nellie K. Parker wanted to teach white children, she was ostracized, demonized. She was treated mean by white and Black people. It was so bad in Hackensack, New Jersey. Not down south, up south here in New Jersey, that the KKK was marching in the streets of Hackensack, New Jersey, so that she wouldn't teach in that school. And Nellie K. Parker is so dope, and she was so great that she stayed on for 42 years teaching in that district when she faced microaggression and racism, macroaggression, white supremacy, racism, all of these things Nellie K. Parker did, and she stayed on for 42 years. And just last month in February, I presented at a school in Hackensack named for our great sister who has joined the ancestors.
Yeah, and so thank you for bringing that bit of local tri-state history into the conversation, because the other thing that I'm really passionate about using this platform for, it's very important that we learn about the Claudette Clovens, right? The Patrice Lumumbas, right? But it's also important that we learn about those local sheroes and heroes who are blazing trails. They're the ones that won't get in the history books, but certainly know history and herstory. So Nellie K. Parker, you just got a Twitter style debrief of why she was so dope and what she did to the needle in New Jersey around racism and education. Google her, say her name, and bring her name up in spaces where she might not otherwise be. All right. So one of the things you're known for, brother, other than having supreme reverence for Black women, being committed and 10 toes down to education, you have something I love called racial literacy circles, and more specifically, a hip hop edition. And as a former director of math and math teacher at heart, one of the quotes that really jumped out at me from your IG platform is, when you have a student that says, I don't like math, but you see him tapping on a beat and rapping with his friends in a cipher, that student don't hate math. He loves math. He's just not vibing with how you're translating and relaying the content. So tell us a little about your racial literacy circles, the hip hop edition.
I bring hip hop into this space to talk about education. I use Biggie. Everyone here, you know Biggie? Juicy?
Come on now.
Biggie Juicy. What was the first thing that Biggie said in that line? Do you remember?
It was all a dream.
You're brilliant, but before that, he said to all the teachers.
Oh, all the teachers, yes.
All the teachers.
Never amount to nothing. Okay, so listen, brother, you got to be more specific. The song starts with "It was all a dream." There's like a where he's talking over the. All right, I got you. Yes. To all the teachers that thought I'd never amount to nothing.
The brother said to all the teachers who said I wouldn't amount to nothing.
Yes.
And I'm a teacher. And I've been in spaces because I'm a Black male. The teachers didn't want me in that space because their lessons were boring. They didn't have any cultural competency. They didn't bring any Blackness into it. They didn't bring no Africanness. And I was bored out of my mind, learn about Eurocentric Columbus nonsense.
Like I say, dry like toast. No jam, no jelly.
That's right. That's right. So I bring Biggie into the workshop so that people can talk about teachers who are causing harm.
Yes.
Yes, there are white teachers causing harm, but there are Black and brown ones causing harm as well.
Oh, baby, you better be undeterred and tell it.
That's right. That's causing harm in these classrooms. So we have to, I basically point a mirror in front of the educators and say, teachers are causing harm. What can we do about it? If you know that teacher across the hall next to you is causing harm, you're going to have to pull up on those teachers for those children.
Yes, on behalf of those children. And something that I think a lot of educators forget, we, unlike the medical field, we don't take a Hippocratic oath, right? But I think there's a moral obligation. When I was in my grad school program, they talked about teachers working in loco parentis, right? Which in Latin means in place of the parent. Now, we are not saying that teachers should be parents, but in place of parents, have regard for these babies like they're your own. And so when harm is being done to your child, you're pulling up. And why would it be any different for the young people you're serving in your 3rd grade class, your 5th grade, your 12th grade class, etc.? So shout out to that. I want to match your energy since you put me on the spot with a lyric. Another dope thing you do in your PDs, I see you use Nuck If You Buck. I see if you use Nas's 3rd verse. And so I'm like, B, before we came to this country.
Ooh, you've been doing your research.
There were empires in Africa called
Kush.
Yes. Too, where every race came to get black teachers. All right, I'm sorry.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it, my sister.
I just had to tell you, like, when I saw that you were putting Dear Mama, Tupac, like your teachers learn the lyrics. You're having these teachers look at Nas's 3rd verse in his dope song, right? All of these things are really paramount and lending themselves to something I hugely subscribe to, which is youth culture. So we talk about Black and brown and culture being race, gender, ethnic. But what about what the young people are into? How do we leverage hip hop as a way in? And so I thought I would match that energy since you put a sister on the spot about a Biggie lyric. And do a Nas verse. Tell us about how you select those songs. One of the things that I actually did in a recent PD inspired by you, I'm like, you can do 2 things in education when it comes to young people. You can lead with it or you can rock with it. But you gotta do one of the 2. You got to do one of the 2. So tell me how do you pick your songs? Where does your inspiration come from, etc.?
I first start with a hip hop icebreakers. So I start with On My Mama. On my hood, I look fly.
They don't know. You're up there and you're singing and they're looking at you like, I don't know this song. What happens? Or do you have people in the audience planted so that they're not leaving a brother out to dry?
So what I do is I kind of walk people through it. So many people in the audiences that I'm in, which educational field is mostly white women, I would say late 40s, early 50s. There are Black and brown people that enjoy the song. So I walk them through it. So I tell them, we're going to do a hip hop affirmation. So I said, I want you to repeat off of me. On my mama. Then I stop them and I say, not on my mother.
Hello.
You have to bring our culture.
Like, what about verb noun agreement? Stop it. Come on, just go with the flow.
I would start with on my mama, on my hood. So I start certain things that will bring the energy, that will bring the vibe. That's why I play Knock If You Buck for real, because if you don't stand up for our children, if you don't ride for our children, you got to be willing to knock if you buck.
Yes, and for those of us who are more vintage that don't know crime mob, think of it as James Baldwin when he talked about go for broke. Basically, go for broke. Just go for broke.
That's right. Yeah. So I bring certain things like that. But to talk about Nas specifically, I start with Illmatic. And I start with It Ain't Hard to Tell. Because I tell people, here is a young man who grew up during the crack epidemic of the 80s. And he's narrating this thing. And he wrote the greatest hip hop album when he was 16, 17 years old. And he left school when he was in the 7th grade. And he left school not because he wasn't smart or didn't want to learn, but the school system wasn't feeding him. And I make a disclaimer, don't tell your children to leave school. There are geniuses inside your classroom. So my essential question, for those of you who are not in the education, we use a question called essential question. My essential question is, how do you support and recognize Black genius? And Nas is Black genius in the flesh. As a person who has a bachelor's degree in English and had to be inundated with Shakespeare and Chaucer and words. And when I was in Baltimore and said Edgar Allan Poe, and they're like, who? I mentioned that Nas is all those people rolled into one.
Yes, the lyricism, the wordplay,
the lyrics. So I actually annotate the lyrics for the educators who are not familiar with it. I put the lyrics on the screen. And there's no racial epithets, there's no cursing. I put it up on the screen for them, and I annotate how Nas is making references to Medusa.
Come on.
There is a child making references to Medusa. He's looking Medusa in the eye. And in Greek mythology, you're not supposed to look in Medusa in the eye, but he's so bad, he's looking at her in the eye. Right?
I love it. So I not only was I inspired by that, because again, there's some people, and we'll get to this later, and they say, you say, they'll say hip hop has no place in education. And so you are completely disrupting that narrative, using it in a professional way, in a culturally responsive way. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go on IG, hit this brother up, and he will school you, because there is a way to do it appropriately that honors the culture, but also brings others along. And so I don't know if you caught episode 1, but we had a brother named Mr. Woodson on, and he was out of Philly, and he talked about that, he did this huge IG reel that said, I'm a young, dope, fly black male educator. And he talked about all the things that he's experienced that are stereotypes for being a black male in education. And so when you think about black males in education and the power you possess, right? You're talking about making connections between hip hop and literacy for young people. One of the things he shared is that, the people who employ you try to keep you in a box. They don't understand your value, or they turn a blind eye to it and act like they don't see it. Has that been your experience too?
They want the black males to be the disciplinarian. That is a truthful fact. They want the black males to have the quote unquote difficult children. They want the black male to fix him or fix her or control him or control her. Our job in our business is not to control our children. This is how the school to prison pipeline developed, is financed, and is supported because your school system is a precursor to the prison system.
Okay, so since you're bringing up school to prison pipeline, I was going there, but shout out to just making a sister leap forward. 3rd grade. Did you choose 3rd grade? Because one of the things that I know in education, 3rd grade is the grade that they use to assess data to decide where they're building prisons, and they project welfare projections based off 3rd grade state assessment scores. Did you choose 3rd grade strategically to be a black male educator, or how did that happen?
I wish I could have said yes, but no.
No? Okay. So you were just
I've taught 4th and 3rd grade. So I was in 4th grade, and they said my district said I had to move to 3rd grade. So then I move on to 3rd grade. But to be in the midst of these black children, to be in the midst of these brown children, to see their intelligence, to see their intellect, to see their dopeness, is something I full joy. And your brother don't say enjoy, because joy should never end. I say full joy. So I full joy being around the 3rd graders.
And what a blessing for them, because when I think about my experience, I didn't have my first black teacher until 5th grade, and then not again until college. And I didn't have a black male teacher until my first professor at Brown. His name was Professor Paget Henry, and he taught Africana Studies, and he might have been one of 3 black professors in the Africana Studies department, which is a separate podcast. But when I think about you, at what grade did you have your first black teacher, and let alone black male teacher, if ever?
I want to say 7th grade.
Black male or black?
Say it again.
Black male or black? Which one?
Black male. The first time I had a black male teacher was 7th grade. I've had black female teachers earlier than that. And my favorite teacher of all time, Miss Mitchell, was in 4th grade. But my black male teacher was 7th grade. I actually wrote an article called "Why We Need More Black Men in the Classroom."
Yes, it was in the NEA. I read it.
NEA. It first started with the NJEA, but it went to the NEA. And the reason why I wrote that, I talk about some of the barriers to getting into education. It's not some of the barriers that some of these people mention about taking tests and credentials, anything like that. It's because black males and black females have been traumatized by the educational system. And who wants to go back to trauma? Who wants to revisit trauma? So that is some of the reasons why they can't get a lot of black males to become teachers into enter the education field. Yes, the salary is not what we would want it to be, but at the same time, salary is not one of the main for me. If I'm speaking to the brothers, it's like so much trauma has happened to us in school that we don't want to go back to that trauma.
Yeah. And how are you supposed to heal in the environment that made you sick in the first place?
That's right.
It's not any different. And so shout out to that, because part of what I'm going to ask you in a few moments is a question that is a perfect follow-up to what you're sharing about what might be the obstacle to recruiting more Black and brown men, especially into education. And so one of the things you talk about when you say full joy, another one about dope untenured guests, her episode is called Unaccepted. I'll keep it a little mysterious until that's released. But she was a sister from Kentucky who talked about one of her titles that she embraces is not just educator, but protector of joy, right? So how do you recommend finding joy in the midst of this, what can be sometimes very oppressive educational system? Or furthermore, what does it look like for you to protect your peace while educating our babies in this public school system?
So I'll start with the first part. The first part is I am a math teacher. I teach math and science. I teach math and science 3rd grade. So I use a website called flowcabulary.com, and we rap the multiplication and division song every day. We're rapping, we're bringing the culture. 6 times 6, 36. We're rapping. I close my door every day. So I close my door, we're rapping, and we singing, and we getting up, and we're dancing, and I'm bringing the culture into the classroom. I am not one of those teachers that's going to have the kids sitting all day taking notes.
Mr. Chalk and Talk, hell no. Hell no.
I am not one of those teachers. When I'm an alternate route educator, meaning that I didn't go to school for education. But when I plan on going into the classroom, I plan on having a classroom that I would like to be in. And that classroom consisted of hip hop music. Flowcabulary raps the song, like I said. That class consisted of movement. That class consisted of dancing. That class consisted of joy. Do they have to sit down and do the nitty-gritty of education? Absolutely. But that's just one aspect of it. The full joy aspect is when we're rapping and dancing and singing and having a good time, so good of a time that I have to close my door every day so that the other teachers don't complain.
And if I could synthesize that nugget for those who might be watching, if you're teetering with should I join the ranks of the educational community because it was so traumatic, Brother Sekou just gave you a nugget of wisdom. Create the space you wish you had, and then you don't have to worry. Have the joy, have the hip hop, have the culture, yes, the standards, but in supplement to the standards, have some spirit about it. And then that's one way to overcome. And then how do you protect your peace, brother? Because it's hard out here for a Black educator in the public school system. How do you protect your peace?
I find a community. Like now, sister, you're in the community. Like there's a community that I'm a part of. The NJEA have a member of color group. You're now part of our community, sister. Like there's a community I'm a part of, that we talk, that we have fun, that we do a lot of different things, and that's helped me keep my peace in this field. And again, back to the sisters. The sisters are always looking out for me. Say, Sundjata, stay away from this.
Fire. You better tell us.
Oh, you mean? The sisters are always look out for me, and I try to protect my peace for me, and I represent for me. So that's another aspect, because in my field, one of the Black women are dope, and we know that. But in my field, I'm going to be around mostly women, because as we mentioned, there's not a lot of Black men here. And the sisters have really represented for me, and I've represented the sisters. So I keep my peace by being around a community of educators, brothers and sisters, and we look out for each other.
Well, listen, one other thing. You're currently reading Historically Black Phrases by Jarrett Hill and Travell Anderson. Do you have any that are your favorites? Just a few.
Hold on. Won't he do it?
Go ahead. Tell us some of your favorite historically Black phrases.
I like "Won't he do it?" That's one that I really full joy. Obviously, I've said "pull up." So "Won't he do it?" Talking about won't God do it?
Yeah, won't he do it? And we even have a genre here called hashtag won't he do it. So, okay, what's another one of your favorites?
I like pull up.
Oh, come on.
I like pull up.
Come on.
I like pull up is another one that I like. Let me pick up one more that I like. You know, some things that just describe education. It is what it is.
It is what it is, and it's gonna be what it's gonna be.
That's right.
And so, if you were sparked by that, historically Black phrases, not only do we offer it on bookshop.org, it's a dope read. He's currently reading it. Another point of connection, if you see Brother Sekou out in the community that you can vibe off of. Another thing you shared is that your favorite book is an autobiography by Malcolm X. And one fun thing that I wanted to ask, I had a community member this past Saturday, because Saturdays we take donations, and she showed me the autobiography of Malcolm X as a graphic novel. Did you know that existed?
I didn't.
And it's literally for grades 3 through 6. Let me show you really fast.
Oh, yeah. I did not know that book existed.
Yeah, the book is right here.
Wow.
And so we donated it to the space, and she said that she got this. This was a part of her studies in college, and it literally is a graphic novel of his autobiography.
Wow.
So if I get another copy, I'll send it your way as a thank you gift. But shout out to one of your
if you said that, I'll sister, you have a business and you don't have to send it to me, I'll purchase it from your business.
Amazing. It wasn't about a plug for a sale, but
No. I'm gonna purchase it for your business. I want to support you, sister.
All right, so beautiful. Okay, so another thing, in the spirit of talking about your educational swag, when you think about any musical, visual, or performance artists, do you think there's any out there that match your educational vibe? Like if you had to take Brother Sekou and put him into a rapper, a lyricist, a visual artist, who matches your swag in their lane?
DMX, y'all gonna make me lose my mind. Up in here.
So why DMX? Why are you picking DMX? He's definitely Undeterred, but why are you picking DMX?
Yeah, because it's energy. You asked a question about energy. Yes, you have like Jay-Z, Jigga, and Jay-Z is laid back, and I understand that. But if you want to talk about energy or how I like to enter space or how I like my workshop, I like that DMX energy.
Yeah, and I heard recently that Jay-Z, there were a few artists that hated following him when they went on tour because of the energy he left on stage. Like, you didn't want to go after him because it's very hard to top that level of showmanship and energy. So shout out to Brother Sekou. He's DMXing the third grade classroom with his dope Irvington scholars, and shout out to that. Do you have a hype song? And I've been asking every guest that because the plan is to make an untenured podcast playlist of every guest's favorite hype song. So you might be having a slow morning. What's that song you're playing before you enter the classroom to hype up your spirit?
Never Scared.
Bone Crusher?
Like that Bone Crusher. Never scared. Never scared. You can imagine the things that I write about. I write specifically and talk specifically about race and white supremacy. You can imagine the pushback, the emails that I get. And there was one man that sent me an email saying, Sundjata, after reading this article, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what. And I basically told him, we got into this debate. Not debate. I was basically laughing at him because he didn't know what he was talking about. Because he was saying slavery is not really a part of American history. The slaves didn't create.
Wait. Say that again. My glasses fogged up. What was that?
The man said something to the effect that slavery wasn't really the building block for America. Slavery is not the cause of America being built. And we all know that's lies. And
he must not read.
Right. So I had to send him some emojis. So because I went full third grade on him. I didn't go back and forth and say other words or whatever. I said, I am going to answer your white male diatribe with the
You gave him an emoji of the throat.
Thumb down. I gave him the toilet. And he said, okay, you want to act like that if I'm giving you much sense. I'm trying to give you knowledge. And I said, you're not trying to give me much knowledge. And I say, I am scared. No, he then said, I am going to have my friends and we're going to be watching you, and we're going to be make sure everything you do, we're going to be watching you. And I basically told him, I'm never scared. I'm outside.
I'm outside.
I'm not going to be undeterred.
Yes, I'm undeterred.
I'm not going to be deterred.
Yes.
I'm not going to be deterred by haters who are trying to stop the truth. I'm always going to stand on truth. As long as I'm saying the truth, practicing the truth, speaking the truth, standing on the truth, that's the way I'm going to handle it, and that's the way I'm going to carry it. And I'm undeterred. Because I am never scared.
You're never scared. Well, listen, let's just keep with that same vibe because I'm going to match your never scared energy. When you think about some of the unspoken truths in your experience for teachers of color, whether they're untenured or not, right? What are some things that people don't know that teachers of color might be experiencing and may not have the never scared spirit to speak up about, but it's certainly part of their lived experience?
What are some of the things? One, white districts don't want black and brown black teachers, don't want brown teachers in their district on a whole, you know, like I have to be honest, not that we want to go to white districts, but there are white districts where they do not have any black teachers in 2024. There are white districts who don't interview black teachers. There is a level of racism in education. It permeates through education. White supremacy permeates through education, just like it permeates through all the other systems of oppression in this country and throughout this world. The education system is not exempt from white supremacy and racism. So we feel a certain level of white supremacy, racism, and for the sisters, there's a level of misogyny tied to the white supremacy and the racism. And our great sister Kimberly Crenshaw, she taught intersectionality. The sister talked about intersectionality, how I am, not just Kimberly Crenshaw, but our great sister Bell Hooks talk about not only am I black, but I'm also a woman. And both of these things, they intersect and they cause my oppression.
Hello. Only that there are districts that won't even interview people of color. Even though you would think in this day and age that the diversity would be welcomed, not so true. Not so true at all. And so I thank you for bringing that into the space, because that was something we definitely wanted to tap into, because we shared that would be a part of the experience in episode 0. So what does support look like in an ideal world for Black male educators, in your opinion, right? I get into the space, I close the door, I connect with my babies the way I wish that someone would have connected with me to teach. What does support look like?
So support looks like not just a class where the teachers or the administrators think that the Black male should control or manage these children. So children on different levels of learning. You know, you have children who are close to mastering the topic. We want those students. And you have students who are close, students who are struggling. So we want to, in our business, say heterogeneous groups. So for those of you that don't know, it's a mixed group of children, not mixed in terms of race, but mixed in terms of ability. So we want a mixed ability terms of students. And we don't want students who are not just students who are struggling and constantly struggling. We want a mixture. So a classroom will have a mixture of these students. Unfortunately, the Black male teacher a lot of times gets students that people think we need to fix them. No, but students learn best from their peers. So if you have a mixed ability grouping of students, the students who are not doing so well will excel. And the students who are excelling, they can teach the other students and develop another quality in their education.
Yeah. And then one other question to follow that up with, what about the brother who comes into education? He's not tenured yet, but he has this never scared spirit. He wants to unapologetically be Black and advocate for his students, for his colleagues who might be going through an ism. What's your advice to them on how they can, be in those spaces and still be never scared?
Be that. Don't waver. Don't stop. Don't compromise. Be that way. This business would try to make you chill out, calm down, don't say nothing, play nice. Be that way, because it's best to be able to live with yourself the way you are than to be someone you're not.
Right? So be that way. And what do you think would make the profession more attractive? Because it's one thing to recruit Black and brown teachers. It's another thing to retain them. And they're not really staying in these spaces too long. So what would help them stay longer?
Start do not traumatize them when they're in school. Like it doesn't start when they're adults. It starts when they're babies, like when they're children, when they're smaller. That's where it starts. Like, because as children, many of us develop a thing where we're going to be that. So if we are developing the ability, developing the wanting to be a teacher, then we will be in an environment that's welcoming, that's comforting, that I see myself, I see my culture, I see myself in here and doing this job. But again, our children, our students, our babies don't see themselves in this Eurocentric way of education.
Yes. And so it really starts with their own education before
that's where it
themselves as a teacher. All right. So it starts, we got to start all the way back. Kindergarten. It might even be pre-K. Right. You heard it here first.
Start with pre-K 3.
Listen, if we want to really get to the root, start in utero.
That's right. That's right. You know, it may be funny, but I remember the brother was Jeffrey Canada, I think, Harlem Children's Zone.
Harlem Children's Zone, and they made
Harlem Children's Zone. The brother would have their version of prenatal care is they would have mothers come in who are expecting, and they would read to teach them how to read to the child in the womb.
Come on.
Like
so from the womb to the tomb, from the womb.
That's right. That's right. Education is not something that's reserved for when they get inside a school building. This is why I use a lot of time an African-centric way of education. Education is constant. It's constant. You don't have to wait to get into the building to start multiplying, to start adding, to start studying the greats like Nas and Jay-Z and Biggie. You don't have to wait or study the stars, study a science, study gravity, study force, study energy.
Study calculus.
Listen,
the eyebrows would raise to the scalp when I used to be like, oh, you can teach third graders calculus. Calculus is slow. Black and brown babies out. It's rate of change.
That's
right. Something shifts, turns, gets faster, slower. All of that is connected to slow.
That's right. How our ancestors did it. How did the ancient Egyptians do it? How they did it? In the desert, they were charting the stars and building pyramids and doing all of these things. They didn't go to a school building. They just made it a way of life.
A way of life. All right, Brother Sekou, we got to start a school. All right. But let me stay on the straight and narrow with this, because I know we are on a dedicated non-Eurocentric time frame, but we still have some timeline. It is a school night, and a brother has third grade babies to be in front of tomorrow. One thing I always infuse into every podcast episode is also a data point, and I know you spoke to this too, about having reverence for Black women and how women are dominating the educational field. And this won't be something that is new news to you, but for our viewers, nationally, white teachers make up 80% of the teaching force. And specifically in New Jersey, where you're an educator for third graders, it's 83%. Meanwhile, the teaching force also mirrors the national trend that only 8% are Hispanic and 6.5% are Black or African American. And so what say you to that misalignment or discrepancy for the classrooms we serve versus the teaching force that's before them?
Again, racism. Racism plays a part. A lot of districts don't want to hire black teachers. That happens. Most of the teachers in New Jersey work in urban districts. Most of the Black teachers work in urban districts. That's where we work. That's where we're hired. That's where we come on. And not just we're there because that's where we're hired. It's because most of us want to be there. We know our charge. We know what we have to do. We recognize that education is something that's seminal for these children because we come from these areas. We come from these neighborhoods. I was born in Jamaica, but I grew up in East Orange, New Jersey. Like I'm from much like where I teach in Irvington. And I chose to go to Irvington. I can, like LeBron said he could take his talents to South Beach. I could go into any white school district. But who I am and what I do should be service. I should be here to service Black children. I should be in front of these Black children. My talents should be used for them. And this is why we are there. So racism plays a part in terms of why that is. There are some barriers to entry. It can be very expensive getting in the teaching field. If you go to school for education and then you want to do student teaching, you can't work, but you have to do student teaching. And that is something that is unpaid.
Yes. Say that again. That is no
unpaid, right? It's unpaid. It's unpaid. You're working as a teacher, doing what a teacher learning. You're an apprentice, but in most fields, apprentices get paid.
Yes. Well, listen, I'm encouraged by what you're sharing because a lot of it is affirming for what my own experience has been in New York State. And so unfortunately, a lot of that is being mirrored in New Jersey, but that's what this platform is for, because I'm sure there's an educator somewhere that's feeling isolated, or they're the only, and they're thinking that what they're experiencing is either a figment of their imagination or it's not what they say it is, and they're being gaslit. No, what you're experiencing is real. Get in community, get connected to other like minds, conscious people that can not only support you on your journey, but encourage you to stay in education. We do not need a mass exodus of dope educators like Brother Sekou and you who are watching to leave the field. So, yeah, go ahead.
Something in the South and much of education, Brown versus Board of Education decimated the black teaching field. You know, many people don't talk about that part of Brown versus Board of Education. But when Black children started to go, not integrate, because Black children were never integrated on most level, when they start going to white schools, they did not bring the Black teachers, and they definitely didn't bring the Black principals. So for the most part, Black people did not go with those Black children. And in these Black schools, they didn't have the resources and they didn't have the things that the white schools had, but they had love, they had community, they had support, they had joy in those Black schools amongst these Black people, and they were protected. These Black schools. So Brown v. Board of Education, one of the side effects of that was the decimation of the Black teaching profession.
Yeah. And so even when I think about historically that you're bringing in law and legislation, and when I think about today, although we are not airing this live today in history was the Dred Scott decision in the Supreme Court. And I don't know if I'm sure you're familiar with what that Supreme Court case was about. But when I think about that and its connection to what you're describing with Brown v. Board, it definitely brings up questions and ideas about, when we did desegregate, what were some of the cons that came with that for the sake of where we are now in education and some of the systemic things that are living in the public school system by way of that decision. We don't have to have an Undeterred part 2, because I feel like there's a wealth of things that I'm being sparked by that we will not be able to fit into this one podcast. But Brother Sekou said he's going to pull up to 37 North Street.
Yeah, definitely.
And please believe that we will record it and share it with the community. So one other question before I hit you with our rapid fire. Do you have a pet peeve as a Black male educator being in educational spaces? Like, please stop doing this to Black male teachers, please.
I would say overall, my pet peeve is for us not to be suckers. And what that means is that, a lot of times people want to get in these union positions and they change who they are. Like for me, when I show up, I'm going to be me. I'm going to stand on, I'm going to defend what I defend, and there's no breaking, there's no wavering. I'm going to stick up for the sisters. I'm going to stick up for the brothers. I'm going to stick up for Black children. I am going to stand firm, 10 toes down in sticking up for Black people. I am going to stand 10 toes down in sticking up for those who are being misaligned and misrepresented and disrespected in the education field. That's my floor.
Okay.
That's it.
So the pet peeve, don't ask this brother to compromise. That's
right. So just, my pet peeve is just when people just change who they are in order to get along, to laugh when it's not funny, to scratch when they don't itch. Like those things are my pet peeve when I see people doing it. And I'm like, you don't got to be this way. Just be who you are.
Be you. They'll adjust.
Be you. Be you. So that is my pet peeve. Don't be a
Be you. They'll adjust. So this is a rapid fire, and I call this segment Deuces. I'm going to give you options. The goal is to make it slightly spicier so that it's harder for you to choose, but you're going to pick the one that if you could wave your magic ancestral wand and remove it from the public school education system tonight, effective tomorrow, because it's doing the most harm. All of them are harmful, by the way, but it's doing the most harm. Which gotta go? You ready?
Yeah.
You gotta reduce to only one. Rapid fire. Yeah. I'm not gonna ask you why.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. People say they're ready and they're not ready. All right, you ready? Here we go. All the Black staff are security, custodial, or cafeteria workers. All the Black staff are skin folk, but not kinfolk. Or all the Black teachers teach remedial or non-advanced courses. Which one gotta go?
Kinfolk, skinfolk.
Oh, baby. Okay, I'm not asking you why. Here's the next one. The teachers are disconnected from youth culture. The teachers are disconnected from the community they teach in, or the teachers are disconnected from current best practices.
Best practices.
All right, here we go. Whitewashed curriculum, no Afrocentric, Black and brown, marginalized, nothing. White savior mentality. I'm coming into the hood because I'm going to teach these babies and save them. Or white fragility. Which one got to go?
Gotta go fragility.
Don't be fragile with the babies. All right. All right, got it. Here's the next one. Black burnout. The teachers are burnt out, so they're leaving the system. Black sellout. They come in and then they're compromising, watering down, switching the song that they sing on behalf of Black children, or Black dropouts. They're all harmful. A lot of people are like, all of them. I'm like, you got to pick one. Black sellout.
Sellouts got to go.
All right, that's his choice. He's sticking with it. We got two more. Policing how our babies talk, policing how our babies dress, or policing how our babies act in school.
Policing how our babies talk has to go.
Okay, here we go. Last one. Out of school suspension. Performative SEL, for those who don't know, SEL, social emotional learning. So you just kind of play with connecting with kids and their social emotional side, or surface level culturally responsive teaching. Here's Martin Luther King as February goodbye.
Yeah, that part.
That part? Which one? All of them.
Last one.
Last one? All right, surface level. So you just survived deuces. Go ahead and chuck up the deuces. Here we go. Chuck them up for me. All right, they gotta go. That was Brother Sundjata's take on which one has to go. And for this last segment, rapid fire, they say, you say. I'm gonna give you something you've probably heard often. You give your immediate clap back. You ready?
Yeah.
They say angry Black man. You say. And you could drop an expletive because this is for grown folks.
No, I don't want to do that. But they say angry Black man, and I say
like, oh, you're being an angry Black man. What do you say to that?
You should be an angry Black man. This society is not built for us, and you should be.
You should be. You should be.
You should be angry at the society for where we are as Black men and as Black people in general.
You should be. Okay, here we go. They say, I don't see color. You say
lies.
They say hip hop affirmations are unprofessional. You talking about using Nas and Biggie in classroom instruction? That's unprofessional. You say
lies. Square.
Lies. All right. They say, but Black people can be racist too. There's Black people that have white supremacist thinking. What say you to that?
There are Black people that serve white supremacy. There are Black people who uphold white supremacy, but I don't think Black people have the power to stop whites from not living somewhere, not working somewhere, in a
livelihood,
affect their livelihood. I don't think Black people is as powerful in this society. Not even Obama when he was president.
You better tell it. He's undeterred. We're not going to ask the follow-up. You'll have to watch the uncut after. All right, 3 more. Here we go. They say, don't worry. If you have any problems, your union will protect you. You say
lies.
They say
it's a lot of lies being
told. Lies for everything. It's all right. I'm not going to filter this, brother. You say whatever comes to your mind. All right. They say, because you teach 3rd grade, 3rd graders are too young to learn about the enslavement of Africans. They'll get emotional. That's not developmentally appropriate. You say
don't start with enslavement. Go back to our greatness. Go back to Africa. Go back to Mansa Musa. Go back to Nefertiti. Go back to ancient Egypt. Go back to Kush. Go back to Timbuktu. Go back. And by the way, sister, you're following a tradition of Black people learning from books. Timbuktu had many books.
Grace came to get books to learn.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So don't start with enslavement. If you start with enslavement, whether you're Black, brown, white, or whatever, you're doing children a disservice.
You're robbing them of true history.
Don't start with our oppression, and that's another one of my pet peeves.
Your pet peeves. Don't start with oppression, because that's not where our history starts. Beautiful. All right. They say Black males, like you said, let them handle discipline. They don't need to teach derivatives. You say.
Black males, just like any other profession, should teach everything. Everything. And yes, there's going to be a discipline aspect involved, or yes, there can be, but we should be able to teach everything that's there to be taught.
And last one, you're talking about going to Timbuktu and to the motherland to talk about Kush and the resources. 55 dope countries. And then someone says, this is America. Teach American history. Stop with all the Africa. What say you?
Africans gave America flavor. Africans gave America its wealth. Africa gave us, we reinvented the English language. If it wasn't for us, we'll be talking in that old English, cometh, dareth, knoweth, that's it. All that other whack stuff. We put some flavor on it. Get some flavor. We give it some sazon. We give it some curry. We put some curry on it. We put some jerk seasoning on it. We put all of the things that on it.
Everything I read.
What do you mean?
Yes, we hear you loud and clear. All right. And so before we close out with the final segment, oh, hell no, we're going to take a pause so that we can gather ourselves for that segment, because this brother, I sent him an email. This is our first time meeting. And I said, for oh, hell no, I need you to pick one current event topic and we're going to weigh in on it. This brother sent me 3. He said, well, on episode 3, can I do 3? And I am not in the business of filtering. So since we want to talk about 3, we're going to wrap about 3 shortly. But last thing, anything you want to say to encourage your fellow educators so they too can stay undeterred before we hit oh hell no?
We should we need more Black teachers. We need more Black teachers. We need more Black educators. We need more Black teachers to stay. We need more Black counselors. One of the things that we don't talk about enough in the education is how much we need counselors and social workers and people to deal with students' mental health. We don't talk about that enough. We talk about teachers, which is fine. I'm a teacher, but we don't talk about the counselors, the social workers, and the mental health part of education and how much our students are dealing with. So because our students are dealing with so much in their home, in their community, we need other services in order to support them, not just the teachers.
And coupled with that, we need more Black male principals, right? Because since the principal holds the final baton for suspension, only a building leader can suspend. And we know how disproportionately Black males, especially Black students, are suspended. We need more of us in those roles to serve as the gatekeeper and the barrier for what can be very harmful consequence, and sometimes and most often inappropriately used measure to deal with situations in school. All right. So he weighed in. He's undeterred. We're going to take a brief pause. And when we come back, we're hitting oh, hell no with 3 topics. I'm going to tell you what they are. We're weighing in on ceasefire. We're weighing in on Trump. And then we're weighing in on Jay-Z's, his exhibit at the Brooklyn Public Library. It was whack. But you sit right there. We'll be right back. And you are experiencing an episode of Untenured. So we're keeping it undeterred. And the sister had to stand up for this one because, like I said, our oh hell no segment is usually reserved for one current event that we come to a consensus on, and then we weigh in and have a rapid fire discussion about it. But Brother Sekou, he is turning up the heat. He said, no, I got 3 issues I want to weigh in on, and it is the 3rd episode. So go ahead and let me bless you with some prime current events. So 3 things we're going to weigh in on. Do you have a preference which one goes first?
No, I want to save the Jay-Z one for last.
All right, we'll save Jay-Z for last. So why don't we start with the opposite of Jay-Z, which is all the way the other end. Let's talk about Trump, right? So you sent me an article that Trump got to go. Tell me why that current event was weighing on your heart for us to weigh in on, and I'll lean in and rock with it as soon as I can.
Lock him up already. If it was Obama, y'all would have put him under the jail. Like we
under. He would have been in a brand new jail in a whole nother stratosphere of the world.
That's right. That's right. They would have expedited the process for the first Black president. And so it's like that's real simple. Just lock them up already.
Yes. Listen, and it makes me think about, when people ever doubt or question the existence of white privilege, there is a clear example. Clear example. Like that brother couldn't do nothing practically when he was in office for the good of the people. This guy is doing blatant things. He's breaking laws and crimes, and he's still out and about gallivanting and potentially running again. Lock him up.
That's right. That's what he's running again. He may even win again. Like, this is how white work in this country.
Listen, knock on wood. Don't put that out there, brother. We're going to do what we can do against the system and the machine to see if we will not be so cursed with another term of late Trump. All right. So then on a more serious note, you shared with me an article, which I'm not under a rock. I am not in denial about, although we are laughing and having a good time. What's going on with our Palestinian brothers and sisters is a travesty times 1,000. And when you talk about ceasefire, what do you want to weigh in on with regards to that current event?
Nearly 30,000. 30,000 or more people have been killed, mostly women and children. I'm in a profession with mostly women, and I teach children. And for anyone who believes in humanity, that think that all lives should be protected. Many of you, when we said Black Lives Matter, you were saying all lives matter. The Palestinian lives matter. And it's just, at this point, it's the murder it's just something that we should try to stop in any way that we can, whether it's a hashtag, whether it's a speech, whether it's writing, something that we should stop. I'm not get into the politics of it, but I just want to mention that. And one other thing I want to mention, not only I'm Jamaican and I'm a dope third grade teacher, but I'm also Muslim. And as someone who practiced the religion of Islam, I thought this was an apt thing to talk about when Ramadan starts on Monday.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you for bringing that into the space, because again, like with anything in life, kindness, inclusivity, belonging, if it's selective and it's only allowed for certain groups of people, then it's not that thing. So we're not really talking about all lives matter if we're picking and choosing which lives when it matters for things like this. So ceasefire. And if I could just offer one more thing to this conversation, since we're talking about tell the full story in history, not discredit the murder and the harm going on with Palestine, but 2 words, the Congo. You know why I'm mentioning the Congo? Please feel free to DM us, email us, Google it, because what's going on there is, again, it's not about comparing crime, comparing assault or anything that's traumatic such as this, but it's happening in more places around the world than you think. So please educate yourself, and however you can lean in to support ceasefire, please do so.
I agree.
So thank you, Brother Sekou. And last but certainly not least, like, I'm a Brooklyn girl at heart, and no, I did not get to go see the exhibit because every time I was trying to go, it just something got in the way. But you said that the exhibit of Jay-Z, it was whack. Tell us why.
I was so disappointed because I looked at it through the lens of an educator who believe, adore, support Black culture and believe and support Black culture within community. And it gave this Eurocentric, individualistic thing about Jay-Z in that exhibit. Jay-Z came out of the Black, he came out of a Black community. And out of the Black community, he was able to express through song the pain, the strife, the joy, the everything that happens with us being here. I would have loved to see some essential questions that charted Jay-Z to becoming Jay-Z. His family obviously moved down from the South during the Great Migration. They didn't cover the Great Migration. His family came to New York and was pushed into the Marcy Project. Black people didn't just choose to go to those places. These were the only places offered to Black people. So that wasn't mentioned. When I went there in the front, it had his lyrics from Justify My Thug. Jay-Z is one of my favorite rappers. someone should have noticed that Justify My Thug leads to a black racist trope as the black man as a thug. Hard Knock Life could have been better. A lot of Jay-Z's other songs could have been put up there to show his brilliance, to show the struggle, to show the black culture there. But they decided to put right in front of the library, Justify My Thug. They didn't. On the second floor of that exhibit, they had white rockers. They had Beatles. They had other people that didn't have anything to do with Jay-Z. I would have loved to see Little Kim attached to Jay-Z, Foxy attached to Jay-Z, Jazzo attached to Jay-Z.
Or even some of the
Big Daddy.
Or even some of the goats, not to cut you off, brother, it's a little bit of a lapse, but even some of the goats that he samples in his work, like Nina Simone.
Nina Simone, that's right.
Black Marvin Gaye, like at least touching the black folk that are leaning into his artistry.
That's right. I'm not a Jay-Z hater. I love Jay-Z. I love that brother. I love his wife is great. All of them, they're great. But I'm just saying the way the exhibit was put together, it left out black culture. Put in rockers that you didn't even need to put in there. The only reason that I can look at why they would put rockers in there is just to make a white audience feel comfortable with the exhibit. And that's something that I shouldn't that's just something that shouldn't be included. And when I mention this to my people, I'm in the minority. Because when I mention it to my people,
they think it's dope. They're like, "Oh, I got this cool card."
That's right. My people are like, what are you talking about? That was awesome. But I looked through the lens of a historian that loves Black history and Black culture, and I just felt that was missing from the exhibit.
Well, thank you for that undeterred truth. And what you're making me think of is a James Baldwin quote where he says, people question, essentially, it's not a direct quote, but the vibe is like, people question if I love America. And it's because I love her that I'm so hard on her and critique her in that way. And so do not confuse Brother Sekou's love for Hov. Don't confuse his love for the culture. But because he loves it so much, he set the bar that much higher, and he was expecting a little more on the educational. And so we're saying, oh, hell no, that Trump ain't locked up yet. We're saying, oh, hell no, to anyone who's doubting whether or not or how they should lean into a ceasefire movement for our Palestinian brothers and sisters. And we're certainly saying, oh, hell no, to not Jay-Z and his artistry and story, but the way that it was presented through that exhibit, because it could have had a little more sensitivity for cultural awareness and the educational component to not fulfill stereotypes.
So just those things that was just missing from that. And I would have loved to see it being in a library that you had essential questions. What drove Jay-Z to sample Annie and flip it to turn it into a song about the Black freedom struggle? He's like, Because like even the way they didn't even center, I don't think, Marcy the way they should have. Because if you listen to Jay-Z, you don't understand. You may not understand that music comes from a place that was purposely impoverished. Like, these people didn't choose not to work and not to make money, but not only is purposely impoverished, but drugs came into that community, drugs and guns. And here is a young man witnessing it and then taking part in it, even though his father left the family because of heroin addiction. He then, a generation later, sells crack that will affect another family, and that father or mother leaving their family. So all of these are connected, and we have to make sure that when we have our cultural icons, whoever they are and whatever they do, their experience is curated in a way that's going to showcase the struggle of Black people in this country.
Listen, and I'm gonna flip it right now and say, oh, hell yes, because I've been saying hell no, but hell yes to all that Brother Sekou just stared. And a lot of it is really just grounded in tell the full story. When you talk about Martin Luther King's dream, tell the full dream. When you talk about Malcolm X, tell his full story. When you talk about Hov, tell the full story. And so we're undeterred about those opinions that we weighed in on. And Brother Sekou, maybe it's divine. Maybe that educational component was left out, so that you and I can collaborate to bring the remixed edition of what that experience could be to Sadie's or to some spot in New Jersey. So maybe that's a future collaboration.
Yeah,
on
definitely.
How to shine a light in a doper way on all that Hov is and his upbringing, and create more opportunities for people to see themselves in his journey.
I want to add, you know how great I know that Jay-Z doesn't write his lyrics, right? And he has said that numerous amounts of time. It would have been so great for me as a third grade teacher to understand, how did you create these wonderful albums, great lyrics, and not write anything down in a society that's so obsessed with writing things down?
And technology,
yeah, technology, like those things would have helped me immensely as a third grade teacher and as an educator, but I didn't.
And also disrupting the narrative, because that is a form of genius, to not have a lyric down and to have all those bars up here, every single one.
This connects back to the African griots in West Africa.
Come on, we on American soil. Don't bring that Africa over here.
This is connect to something even bigger than Jay-Z and bigger than us. This is something that's going back to the ancestors, where the local ruler will get these griots, and the griots will tell their story. So Jay-Z is telling our story. And he's not writing anything down. It's an oral tradition.
Hello, I was just about to say that. That is the story of our people. A lot was not written because we weren't allowed to write and we were scared to write it. It was passed down orally. And so shout out to hip hop being a way to pass down oral tradition. Shout out to dope educators like Brother Sekou, New Jersey, Philly, Buffalo, wherever you are. We salute you. We need more of you in these spaces. I can't wait to connect in person and tutorialize with Zium. But more than anything else, stay never scared. Mr. I-95, I hope that you can make it to the Hudson Valley area, because teachers and educators up here in the Valley, they need some of that Sekou swag. And so I'm very excited to be connected to you through this experience. Remember, here in Sadie's house, speaking your truth can never go left because it's your right. And again, follow this dope educator soul at Black Male Teacher. He's doing the thing in Irvington, New Jersey, but he will pull up if need be. Reach out to a brother. He's a wealth of knowledge. He exudes passion, expertise, and he's for the culture. And so thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, sister, for having me. I love everything that you're doing. Salute to your bookstore. I love that you named it after your grandmother. My grandmother is very sacred. I'm going to say even though she's joined the ancestors, because I think she's still with me. You share the same sentiment. Thank you for everything that you're doing. Thank you for naming the bookstore naming the bookstore after your grandmother. Thank you for everything that you're doing for the community, for your family. Just stay strong and stay being you.
Listen, we ain't never scared. So I will see you soon. Major blessings, blessings for your Ramadan faith and for your celebration of Ramadan or your practice of Ramadan this season. And I will definitely be in touch. You have just experienced an episode of Untenured. Stay blessed, stay true. And if nothing else, just be you. They'll adjust.
All right. Thank you, sister.